Hey, how's it going, friends? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. So we got more news coming out of Iran. It looks like they have just executed the second protester that was arrested at these protests that have been taking place there in Iran that have become international news because you usually don't see protests in those parts of the world. And so, these protests started with because the Iran police arrested a woman who apparently was wearing her head covering the wrong way, and she ended up dying, I believe, in police custody. So there was a big uproar from her family and the community and the masses at large, and that itself is pretty much what started this whole thing. And so that led to these protests that pretty much on a scale that hadn't been seen, and again, that's what made international news. It looks like there were some skirmishes between the authorities and some of the protesters, and as you see here, this is the picture of one of the protesters that was arrested. So this man's name was Mahidrasa Ranavard, who was 23 years old and was just executed, being the second protester to be executed there in Iran. So let me go ahead and read a little bit here from this BBC article. It says, Iran says it has publicly hanged a 23-year-old in what is the second execution linked to the recent anti-government protests. Mahidrasa Ranavard, 23, was hanged early on Monday in the city of Mashhad, the judiciary said. A court convicted him of enmity against God after finding he had stabbed to death two members of the paramilitary Basij resistance force. So the Iran government accused this guy of actually killing two officers and from the resistance force, which, if that's true, that was a terrible decision, obviously, on his part there. And how he, killed two officers is pretty insane, since you would imagine the officers to be armed and have armor on and stuff like that. But yeah, not a wise decision there by the man if it's true. Human rights groups have warned that protesters are being sentenced to death after sham trials with no due process. His mother was not told of the execution until after his death. His family were then given the name of a cemetery and a plot number. When they turned up, security agents were burying his body. In two of the photos, a man could be seen hanging from the cable of a crane. Dozens of members of the security forces attended the execution. Ranavard was denied a lawyer of his choice for his trial. The lawyer he was given did not put up a defense. Yes, so very shocking news here, and very unfortunate for the families, of course, of these protesters that were executed. And it's I wouldn't say it's any surprise that we see these executions taking place in places like Iran. Of course, we know that these countries don't operate the way that Western countries do, such as the United States or the UK or other European or democratic countries or nations. And so the power concentration is very focused on those people in government there, and it is a show of force, pretty much, to warn others of dissension from the authority and from the laws that are established in that country. Of course, Iran was accusing the West, the United States, essentially, of creating this chaos, of being behind these protests and instigating in their political affairs in order to create chaos and carry out their agenda, possibly overthrow the government there. But it's a very touchy matter. Whatever way you're looking at it, Iran is nuclear capable. So, it is a country with nuclear weapons, and that's kind of what prevents a direct confrontation, with the U.S. and other countries. But this is definitely, a show of force by the government. Essentially, it's warning people not to protest because they could be killed. So, it is definitely going to instill fear in the populace there in Iran and not to protest because, they will be scared of getting executed in such a horrible way in public, being hanged. And again, it's pretty shocking, to see these things taking place in our day and age. You would think since we're more civilized, supposedly, you wouldn't see these things. But that's a bunch of nonsense. The world is more corrupt than ever, and we do have all this technology and all this stuff taking place, but there's corruption in every government. There is, there's a lot of chaos in these governments, a lot of social unrest, and I believe it's going to continue. Again, it's not wise to go out there in these protests and, they're accusing this man of attacking or getting in fights with police, because violence is only going to lead to more violence, and it could put your life at risk. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and comments down below. I'd like to hear what you think of this whole matter. And yeah, make sure you give the video a like. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe for future news. This is VR Revelations, and the truth certainly is stranger than fiction. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.